Occupy Wall Street movement grows. Business executives and hedge fund managers are feeling an increased threat to their security. Security firms, like the one our next guest runs, are seeing a significant increase in the number of people seeking protection.
Christopher Falkenberg is the founder and president of Insite Security. We are pleased to have him join us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to you.
Nice to see you, David.
Good to see you.
Talk about your experience and your interaction with the Occupy Wall Street protesters and how it's influenced and changed your business just in the matter of a couple of weeks.
Well, certainly it's given a rise to concern about personal security for people who are particularly high net worth. The Occupy Wall Street protesters are by and large generally nonviolent, to the extent that when they do fight, they generally fight with the police. What we're concerned about here is a one-off, a fringe-type individual, so a low probability event, but one which could have a particularly high impact if a particular person is targeted.
Those fringe folks, by the way, are there. We've been seeing some of them give interviews, some people who were involved in the WTO riots in Seattle back in 1999, et cetera. But it's interesting to me, I was looking at the list of what the most important things are for security. You put home security as the #1 concern. Why?
Well, we certainly saw it on the march to the homes of billionaires. I mean, that was, not only was it peaceful, I think there were actually more police officers than there were protesters in that particular one. But that's because it was announced in advance and it was a large group. It's not hard to find out where folks live. And it's also not hard to actually get into one of these fancy homes, because although everyone has sophisticated alarm systems, the false alarm rate in wealthy communities is very high. And so even if an alarm goes off, it's not particularly true that the police will be able to respond quickly enough, or are likely to respond quickly enough, to actually intervene and stop somebody from breaking into a home.
Christopher, what has this meant for your business? And are you going to see just a huge fourth-quarter spike in sales because of all of this going on in New York?
We've seen a really significant increase in number of people who are calling up or concerned about the safety of their employees and of their workplaces in the financial services industry, but more importantly, concern about their families. It's easy to find out who I am. My kid, I have school-aged children. Generally, our clients are those whom have achieved a fair amount of comfort for them and their families, and that degree of success has introduced a degree of risk, which they're trying to address and to mitigate, but not trying to, have their family raise their family in the equivalent of a very posh penitentiary. So it's finding the balance between appropriate security and letting people live the lifestyle they want.
There are a whole lot of spillover businesses that result from this, and one of them are security guards, I would think. Are more businessmen, CEOs, and even at a lower level beginning to hire security guards to protect them?
We are deploying more security guards, but I think more important than that is helping families to understand where does the risk come from and how can they divert the risk off of themselves. So what I always like to say is, we're as successful as we are, we're never going to reduce the amount of crime in Greenwich or in Beverly Hills. Right. All we're able to do is take that threat and move it off of our clients onto somebody who's a little less prepared.
So it sounds like your own business costs are going up with the addition of security guards, as you're describing to us, but are you able to adjust prices that you're charging to the people looking for your services?
Our prices don't go up. Our volume has gone up. We try to provide these services at a marketable or a reasonable rate and try to be fairly transparent in the pricing.
We're looking at some of the rates right now. Not cheap.
Well, no, it's not cheap, but this is not the type of guard that one expects to see at Kmart. You really need to have personnel out there who are able to identify the threat and to interact and to intervene, prior to what can be a problem arising to a real emergency.
Yeah, it is a big commitment to hire a service like yours. So how do you know if you really need the extra security?
I think the decision is one on how comfortable you are with your own degree of security and how much risk there is. If you constantly find your name or the name of your firm in the financial press or there are billboards with your name on it, I think that's a time, and look, we're looking at a purchasing group which is quite well-to-do. They have a lot of disposable income. That may be a time in which you should look at your security, and whether it's full-time bodyguards or whether it's just making your house a little harder to penetrate than the neighbors. Those are decisions that families have to think about.
The timing is pretty good in terms of the downsizing of communities with regard to police forces. There must be a lot of unemployed policemen who are looking for some extra work.
With a 20-year retirement plan in New York City and other municipalities, there's never a shortage of people with law enforcement experience to hire. That's one of the good things about my industry. You have a great evergreen workforce, and usually their benefits are paid for as well. So it's a...
These are interesting times,
exactly.
Christopher.
It's a good employee pool. Thank you.
Chris Falkenberg, great to see you, man.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you very much for coming on.